I don't know what it is, but it's fine. Like, I can't control that. He kept bringing the tribute up when I was the one that shut the tribute down. So, I mean, I'm far past that. I'm on the Lakers trying to figure out how to help this team win. And for the things that happened today happen and me to get ejected is uncalled for. Nothing should have made that escalate like it did, but he already had his agenda written down right when I checked in the game. It was obvious.
These commercial break conversations. Okay, Doug, what is your reaction to what went down with these two? Is this child's play? Is it immaturity? Or is this just legitimate at this point?
No, this is Rondo trying to rattle his cage, two former Celtic point guards. And obviously Rondo a little bit bothered by the attention that IT got, considering he was only with the team for 2 years. Whereas Rondo was with the team longer. Rondo won a championship.
He did.
Right? And Rondo doesn't think he gets the respect that he deserves. Look,
do you think he gets the respect he deserves?
Rondo?
Around the Celtics situation?
I think he gets everything he deserves. Okay. I just do. Like, look,
okay.
Look, the good Rondo helped them win a championship.
Yeah.
But he probably wouldn't have fit in on any other team unless Kevin Garnett was able to keep his ego kind of in check.
Yeah.
You know, it's the Rondo that quit on the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs. It's the same Rondo that would have beat the Celtics in the playoffs last year if he didn't get hurt. So Rondo's a mixed bag. Look, let's just take a snapshot of last night. It was wrong to throw Isaiah Thomas out. It's just
Definitely.
wrong.
100%
He did
agree.
nothing wrong. If anything, he reacted exactly the way you want a guy who you're trying to rattle his cage, you're trying to talk trash to him, you're trying to bump him, you're trying to get him to react, and he didn't react. He was just looking to go and play ball and try and win the game, and the officials overreacted. So I think that's the first thing. Unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas is just trying to get his game back together. Dude lost $100 million in the last 8 months.
Say that again.
$100 million. That's the difference between last year before he hurt the hip, averaging 29 a game for the Boston Celtics, and the market, which is not a good one. Not a lot of teams have salary, and he couldn't fit in with the Cavs. He can't guard anybody, and now he's a sixth man who comes in and scores off the bench. $100 million difference between last year and this year. And for a guy who's lost that much money to not be bitter, to not want to take a swing at Rajon Rondo, I think that showed some inner strength, some inner toughness to act as he did and wrongly be ejected.
Yeah, and this is his third team this season. Now, Rondo did a couple things maybe that people didn't pick up on. My hands are up in the air, but when you're playing against a shorter player,
hit him with the elbow?
Typically you hit him with the elbows as you're putting your hands up.
Is that what they call throw them bows?
Yeah, throw them bows. And he hit him with a little chop in the throat area. He did this other little thing. I know Doug did this in his playing days, too, or even when he's still playing. A player defensively will walk in your space, knowing where you're headed, and the ball's not put in live yet. So it's aggravating, it's agitating, but these are things that Rondo. This is a personal thing, too, between the two of them. Both of them being former Celtics. Rondo being very, very public is about his displeasure with the Paul Pierce, his date being put off because of Isaiah Thomas. Like, you only played 2 years there. So he's voiced his opinion of how he feels about Isaiah playing with the Boston Celtics. But moving forward, we wouldn't feel any way towards Isaiah if we didn't know about the Cleveland situation.
Right.
If he wasn't coming off of, he questioned Kevin Love. He was having problems with other teammates. So we have to try to look at this absent of what happened in Cleveland. He's in Los Angeles. He's trying to make the best. He's recovering from a tremendous injury that's affected his overall wallet. This is his third team this year. And he didn't do anything wrong last night. Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, they're not talking to Isaiah today telling him, you need to, correct this type of behavior. No, he's a struggling NBA player who was trying to get his game and get himself back healthy and trying to help this young team as they just try to make it through the end of the season.
Here's the issue, though, Cris Carter, with what you're laying out, which is totally factually correct on every level. And you are right as well, Doug. He was wrongfully ejected last night. But here's the power of narrative. You say the refs overreacted by ejecting him out. You know why? Because he's been talking too much in general all season long, and now it's working against him. So although the facts last night went in his favor, he absolutely responded in a reasonable way to me, but the narrative is he's been petty, he's been talking too much, liking, cheap shots on Instagram, and all of that weighs in favor of saying, you know what, I'm not going to figure this out, y'all are both out. That's what happened last night, and that part Isaiah can control. And get control of that narrative again.
Yeah, now, Chris Mannix talked about this. Boston, covers Boston. And he did mention Isaiah did make a couple mistakes. And this year, when he went to Cleveland, He thought his opinion was like a superstar, a franchise, a max player. But he wasn't a max player. He was an injured player going to a new franchise. But this is some of the things that trailed him from Sacramento into Phoenix, into Boston. So we mentioned Rondo. Yeah, this is Rondo. But now we're trying to, is this narrative, is this really who Isaiah is? So, yes, I can understand because of what people have heard of recent, because people know more about your recent history typically than they know about your past.
Well, Isaiah's one of these guys that he's always been tough to play with. Now, he hasn't, Rondo's a guy who's just tough to live with, let alone tough to play with. He is. I mean, he's very, very bright, very opinionated, and very terse in the way in which he handles his interactions with his teammates, with his coaches, with the general managers, let alone with the fans and with other players. Isaiah is not a guy that anyone has ever said, like, man, I like him as a dude, right? There's a little bit, you know, Nate Robinson, also a Washington guy. Nate Robinson had a little bit of some of this stuff off the court, more so than Isaiah had off the court. But that all changed in Boston. He was beloved in Boston. Brad Stevens stuck up for him. Brad Stevens built an entire system around his ability to score with the shot clock running down. I just think that, as much as you're right, he should have done less talking in Cleveland, and there's nothing really that needs to be said about Cleveland. He hasn't been talking about Cleveland in L.A., and I thought he actually handled not just the moment to which Rondo tried to challenge him, tried to rattle his cage well. I thought he handled it after the game well.
Yes.
So he's like, look, this dude's still mad about something. I'm not mad. I'm just trying to play ball.
Right.
I was just wrong getting thrown out.
Yeah, I think we all know Rondo is exactly who he is. He's a taunter. He's somebody that gets off on this, and he enjoys, I think, kind of being the bad guy villain a little bit. I think he does.
And the way it should be handled in basketball, okay? And I played for John McLeod my first year at Notre Dame, and I'll never forget after our first exhibition game, he called us all in, and they had a big guy that was, we played a German pro team, he's throwing elbows, and he's like, what are you big guys doing? Like, it's the job of the biggest dude on, like, Rajon Rondo, if you're Isaiah Thomas, you're the smallest guy on the floor, you don't handle your own business. That's what you do. Luke Wall needs to sub whoever the 12th man is in and come in and set a massive screen on Rajon Rondo, legal or otherwise.
Some street justice.
Right, so a little street justice. Or foul the hell out of Anthony Davis and Rondo will stop talking.
Absolutely
This is the way, it's like the brushback pitch in baseball. That's how the sport is handled.
Now, we're talking a lot about the basketball of it all, but are we forgetting just how much this young man, he's still very much a young man, has been through this year with the loss of the sister, with the injury, with the loss of the $100 million. You add that all together, and I do agree with both of you. His reaction last night was quite impressive under those circumstances.
Yes, he reacted the right way. The way that you do things right in the future, just let's try to get today right. Yeah. Now, Isaiah was right in what he did.
But people don't do that, Chris. People don't look at it in isolation. They look at the totality.
That's all he can do. And the way he left the court was the right way. His comments after the game were the right comments. So that's all we can give him credit for. I'm not going to hold against him what he went through in Cleveland. Like, I don't know that. I know what it's like to play for a franchise and jeopardize my overall health, but that franchise came back to me and they gave me respect. And the way they give you respect is a long-term contract for what you're worth and paying you to be one of the highest paid players to do that. When Isaiah lost that, him being traded, man, he lost a lot. I mean, it's beyond $100 million. I mean, trying to play through an injury, but trying to play through the death of one of your family members?
It's crazy.
I mean, so you're going to jeopardize all that, and what did the franchise, what did they do for you? They didn't care anything about you.
Well, here's the challenge of the NBA. Now they got Minnesota, right? So they're playing arguably the last game of the first half of the season, and the Lakers, who are not going to be a playoff team, are going to be one of the most fascinating watches in the second half of the season.
Yes.
How does Isaiah respond to what happened in Cleveland? How does he get along with Lonzo Ball? What happens when LeVar Ball shows back up from Lithuania? And does this team show enough promise to warrant LeBron James coming over? Do they lose so many games that pick becomes even more valuable for the Philadelphia 76ers?
That's going to get really interesting, thinking about LeBron ending up in L.A. with IT. Fascinating.
Yeah, don't think that's going to happen.
No, I actually think it's more likely to happen.
Cleveland, but
well, they might have
the new energy that